Hello and welcome to our How to Become a Bookkeeper with ICB webinar. My name is Ami Copeland and I'm the Chief Executive of the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers. We are a passionate, progressive, purpose-driven organisation, and we are absolutely chuffed to bits to be supporting bookkeepers and connecting them worldwide. And an important part of our job is certifying them. So we set standards in bookkeeping and then we provide exams for people wanting to come into our profession. And today I'm really pleased to be joined by some fantastic guests. First of all, I'm going to start with Brian McVean. Those of you who have studied with us are very likely to have actually spoken to Brian himself. But Brian, you work at Ideal Schools. Can you give us a little bit of an introduction?
Thank you, Amy. Yes, I am Managing Director, Tutor and General all-round dog's body at Ideal Schools. We specialise in the bookkeeping and accounting training. We have enjoyed a really strong relationship with ICB over the years, probably 20 years plus, really, I think. And from a personal perspective, I've been involved with Ideal Schools for over 30 years. And Ideal Schools have over 40 years of experience in offering bookkeeping and accounting training, specialising in the home study element. So hopefully we can share some information with the attendees, and yeah, I look forward to chatting with yourself as you move forward, Amy.
So Ideal Schools, one of our top accredited training providers. And like you say, Brian, we have been working together for years. So Brian knows a thing or two about how to help you qualify as a certified bookkeeper. And even more exciting, if you don't mind me saying, Brian, we are going to be joined by Tracy. Good morning, Tracy Bland. Please introduce yourself, but you've been there, done that, and now you're wearing the t-shirt. Am I right?
Yeah, so I trained with Ideal Schools and qualified. Set my business up nearly 2 years ago now. So I'm still, I feel like, at the beginning of my journey, although I've achieved so much already. But yes, everything's really exciting. It's a good, it's very exciting.
It is so wonderful to be joined by you today. Thank you so much, Tracy. I am sure together we have loads of insights and information we can provide to you watching at home about this journey you might be embarking on. To help us, I would love it if you could please tell us in the chat who you are. Good morning, Mihal. It's lovely to hear from you. Mihal, who's already in the chat, has qualified and is running his business. He also is employed as a bookkeeper. And there are really various ways that you can use your qualification once you've gained it. But ICB is really the professional, in fact, we're the only professional body that dedicates itself to bookkeepers. So we are one of 16 supervisors within the accounting space in terms of professional bodies, but the only one that just works with bookkeepers. And we like to think that bookkeepers are distinct from accountants. It's definitely a distinct profession, in that bookkeepers are the ones there doing the bookkeeping. It sounds really obvious, but I said this at an event yesterday. The difference really that I see between bookkeepers and accountants is that all bookkeepers are doing bookkeeping. And it's not really something that a lot of accountants tend to get involved with, but we are seeing those really good progressive accounting firms embedding bookkeeping into their service offering. And the great thing about bookkeeping is that it is supporting businesses every day of the year. So it's not just doing an annual tax return or providing forecasts for the future. It's really about supporting businesses on a day-to-day basis with everything from that transactional stuff through to how to use software efficiently and how to control your cash flow. And it's these things that are really empowering for businesses. And what we hear time and time again is that businesses love working with bookkeepers because bookkeepers speak in a language that business owners understand. Money in, money out. Are you owed more money than you have in the bank? And these things are so powerful for businesses. And one of the things you can do as a bookkeeper is work within any business in the world. They all need their books done. You can also get yourself a job in a bookkeeping firm or an accounting firm and get that experience of working with multiple clients and having a team to work with. Or you can choose the route that Tracy chose, which is actually starting your own business. So Tracy, can you tell us a little bit about your business and what made you decide to set it up in the first place?
Yeah, so I have been employed in finance roles for about 20 years, and I've worked in lots of different industries. I've got some, I've had some exposure to some really good, experiences, some good industries, some good people, clients, and everything. But it was to work my way up the career ladder, it required a lot of sacrifice. I was traveling a lot. I relocated around the UK a lot. I didn't really have much of a work-life balance. And when I became a mum in 2018, my whole perspective on, career and work completely changed. And I needed to be a bit more present in and around my children. I tried taking a step down initially and staying employed, but that didn't really work. The long month ends, the long hours at month end, you're not being able to take holidays at peak times, that sort of things. And it just wasn't working for me anymore. It wasn't allowing me to be the mum that I wanted to be. So I tried something a bit new. I went completely on a tangent and started selling kitchens. Quite bizarrely, I wanted to put myself out of my comfort zone, but still stay employed. So I had a little bit of a safety net, because I was a little bit concerned. And when I thrived at that, I thought, right, I've got a bit of sales experience now. I've got a bit of finance experience. I need to set up my own business, but I hadn't studied for 20 years. And so back in, I think it was 2023, I think I rang Brian and said, Brian, I've heard of the ICB. I've been doing a little bit of research, and from that, I found yourself. And I asked him, bless him, a million questions. What does study look like? How can I fit it in? Everything else. And we spoke for a while. And then I rang him back the next day and I said, right, Brian, I said, I've quit my job. I'm doing this. And within 48 hours, I was studying, and I thought, right, I knew I needed my practice license, and I knew what I needed to do to get there. So yeah, it was a bit of it was a transition. It was an adjustment because studying 20 years ago to studying now is immensely different. When I done my exams 20 years ago, you done 3 classroom-based days and you're expected to give up your life for 3 months a year. You could sit exams, they were in halls, they lasted 3 hours, and you could only sit that exam maybe once a year or once every 6 months. So, if life threw something at you like an illness, you still had to rock up at that exam centre and, not perform very well. Does that make sense? But yeah, so I spoke to Brian and he helped me with the transition. He was very patient.
That is so wonderful. Fantastic, Tracy.
Some really, really good advice, not just about.
I just wanted to say apologies to everybody because there is a little bit of a lag sometimes with the video, but it seems like all of your audio is coming through clearly. So I hope that's okay for everybody. No need to worry about it, Tracy. But apologies if that's frustrating for anyone who's watching. Just to introduce also Elaine, who works at training training provider Ideal Schools and is in the chat right now discussing, and she's going to be able to answer some questions on the fly for you. So definitely get your questions to her if you've got some. Likewise, you can also use the Q&A here as well. We've got that at the bottom of the screen and I can see somebody's already asked us a question. So let's just go ahead and answer it. So they've asked, Tracy, how long did it take you to build the business up? I'm still working while I gain my qualification, so I'll initially be working my current job while taking on bookkeeping jobs. That's an interesting question. Obviously, you've been in business just for 2 years.
Yes, but I'd say for the first 6 months, what I'd done was a bit of a soft launch. I didn't go all in with my business straight away. I think it's really important to get it right first time. You're only as good as your reputation. You're only as good as your performance for your last client. So getting it right from the start is important. So I'd done a very much a soft launch with 1 or 2 clients. And I'd done that for about 6 months, got my website where I wanted it to be, got my social media, got my my advertising, and I probably done that for about 6 months, and then I spent the next year after that growing my business. But that was very much a personal choice because I still wanted to study. I still taking level 4 exams. So I've had a very progressive, launch as well. And I've also been very particular about what type of clients I can work with, because I've got very limited time with childcare and everything else. So, I probably could have grown it faster if I'd have had more available time, if I'd had more childcare, if that's what I wanted to do. But yeah, the soft launch worked really, really well for me for about 6 months.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, I think we'll probably come back to find out more about your business in a little while. But just like Elaine is saying in the chat, we have got a lot of students who come to us for exactly this reason, because they're looking for that flexibility and they're perhaps moving away from a full-time career, possibly looking for something particularly that helps them work around their kids. Brian, is this something you kind of see reflected? Is it kind of changing it all? And what is it about the way that you provide training and the way ICB provides exams that actually supports people in this kind of situation?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it is down to flexibility, Amy, and for us to have the conversations, first of all, that I had with Tracy, which I have on a daily basis with those that are considering the move into this industry. It's important, first of all, that students are led in the right direction towards the correct qualification, and the ICB provide that gateway, as you've said, into various aspects in the bookkeeping sector. So first of all, it's making sure that you are guided in the right way, and then getting the support and the personalised guidance through the training. It's what we do really well, I believe, without blowing our own trumpet too much, but that personalised guidance and support the students either are looking to start their journey or are making their way through their studies and exams. It's a really important part of what we do here. So hard copy of training materials, direct tutor access via phone, email. Your students are encouraged to contact us as often as they have to as they're progressing through their studies. Personalised assignment marking. So we do use the modern technologies. We use the ICB mock exams to finalise the exam preparation. But in the lead up to that, we have our own assignment work and mock exam work where, it's not automated. It is direct, individualised student tutor feedback that the students receive as they go through. So everything is provided with the sole aim of the students passing their exams.
Wonderful, fantastic. Yes, and just to clarify, our exams, ICB exams, are available online and on demand. So Tracy has mentioned that a lot of exam boards will have set exam periods during the year, and then you've got to travel. And I know this from my own experience because that's actually how ICB used to do exams as well. So before I became chief executive, I was the exam coordinator, and my job was finding students local exam centres. And we originally, when we set up ICB, which was almost 30 years ago, one of our intentions was to make our exams really accessible. So we really tried incredibly hard to get local exam centres, so people weren't just going either London or Manchester. And the best thing about, I think, COVID was that it really kind of accelerated our progress to making our exams super duper accessible. And now we're at the point where you can take those exams at home, you can take them at your normal place of work, as long as you've got good internet connection. But it means that when you go and take an ICB mock exam that Ideal Schools will support you to take, you're actually doing that on the system itself. So you've got a real kind of dummy run, as it were, to make sure that you know what you're doing when you take those exams. But I just wanted to sort of say how wonderful it is to hear about what you're up to in the chat here. And see if kind of any of this sort of resonates with Tracy and Brian. We've got people who are, we've got Nick, who's totally new to this, totally new to becoming a bookkeeper. And we've got lovely Narelle, who's actually just started a bookkeeping course. Congratulations, that's so exciting to have you with us. We've got Marion, who perhaps has got a story closer to Tracy's. You've been working as a bookkeeper for a number of years and now looking for a formal qualification, so that's kind of exciting. You've got that experience behind you. We've got Marcia, and you're a student already self-studying at home but considering joining a bookkeeping course. Well, that's exciting. And Jenny is qualified with AAT already, as is, who else we've got? Samuel, also qualified with AAT. And like Elaine says, we do have an exemption route as well. Brian, you regularly support students who come to you and they've already got qualifications. Quite often AAT, it's one of a big, AAT really is a feeder organisation for ICB, I'm pleased to say. We've got lots of students coming across from AAT. How do you kind of assess that? What does AAT mean in equivalence to the ICB qualifications, Brian? Roughly.
Well, obviously, bookkeeping and accounting is bookkeeping and accounting at the end of the day. So there's lots of similarities, whether you have studied AAT or ICB, there's a lot of crossover in the qualifications. I think the main difference with the ICB qualification is the practical nature of the way that students are tested. You may have touched on it earlier, Amy, where your qualifications are aimed towards providing students with the confidence to go out and actually put their new skills into practice. And I think that is the main difference. But the transition from one to the other, so AAT to ICB is a straightforward one. There are, at level 3, ICB do cover some topics that AAT don't. So there is a crossover exam, a fast track exemption exam that you can take, which is a relatively short element of study, but students do that on a regular basis, and they reap the rewards of that on the other side, because it then opens doors to individual qualifications such as self-assessment taxation, corporation tax, payroll management, all leading to providing additional services to your future clients. So it just allows you to be far more marketable as a bookkeeper, offering more and hopefully earning more at the same time.
Exactly. That's the name of the game, isn't it? It's all about flexibility, working on your own terms, but ultimately we do need money to survive, don't we? We really want to thrive. And this isn't really just about matching the syllabus, the salary you had when you were employed in this job that you wanted to move away from. We want to progress, don't we? We want to do better. So that's pretty exciting. And yeah, it's really interesting hearing from everybody. And one of the things Elaine has said in the chat there is that there are differences between AAT and ICB. One is that for our level 3, I mean, roughly equivalent, 2, 3, and 4, but in our 2 and 3, we are asking you to prove that you can work with a range of different businesses. So you're not just doing basic bookkeeping for sole traders, you're also doing accounting adjustments in year end, you're producing a balance sheet, a profit and loss, these really important bits of accounting for businesses. And you're doing that not just for sole traders, but for partnerships and limited companies as well. So you do get a much broader range. It's partly because we've designed this qualification so that after you've completed 2 and 3, you can go straight into practice if you want to. But that said, lots of our members don't want to run their own businesses, and they do actually go into employment as well. And also what we find is that even our members who run their own businesses, quite often from their kitchen table or anywhere they can find space at home, they very quickly find, like Tracy has, that the demand is out there and they have the opportunity to grow that business as well, which also means that they will turn to ICB members to try to expand their team too. So either that could be through subcontracting, offering you a contractual basis arrangement, or even employing you potentially. Tracy, is that something you would ever consider, expanding the team?
I've already started to, and that's on the cards for September. So that's my next big adventure, really. So there's a couple of skills that I don't have that I really need to provide my customers with. And I'm working closely with my ICB branch members, and between us, I can help them, they can help me, they can fill in the gaps where I'm struggling, I can help them with their skills gaps. And it's working really, really well. And I'm actually on board and 5 new clients in September, purely because of fellow ICB branch members and the services, as a group that we can provide for a client to really meet their individual needs.
Wow.
So
I'm so
exciting
excited.
time.
I didn't even know this. That is so exciting. 5 new clients.
Yeah.
And just to say also, in terms of if you are interested in running your own business, there is so much flexibility also in the type of business that you run. So you could be the one-person band, you could have a team, you can have these colleagues that you work with that are just other ICB members, part of your local branch. But also in terms of the number of clients you have and how deep of a service you want to offer them. So I have, I know we've got one member who says she would only ever work with 5 clients and she likes to go really deep with them. So in terms of breadth, very small, but she really likes to offer them a really enhanced service, including tax and financial planning and cash flow and all that kind of stuff, because that's exactly what you can do once you've got that bookkeeping knowledge and you're in the weeds of the transactions of the business. You actually have got so much knowledge and help that you can provide to those businesses. But really interesting, Tracy, that you're working with fellow ICB members and that's enabling you to grow the business. That is ever so exciting. And just to say also, and somebody in the chat here has been talking about payroll. You've got a payroll startup. And we actually do provide licenses for payroll businesses that don't offer additional bookkeeping. So you're essentially, you are just making sure the business's employees are getting paid, which again, is vital, not only to those businesses, obviously the wider economy as well. But we're unique in that we've got a really, really good, tough, I'm not going to lie, tough practical payroll qualification that you can be qualified in. And if you do payroll only, you can run a payroll only practice, or it's something that you can add on to your bookkeeping business, or in the way that this person in the chat has done, do it the other way around, have a payroll business and then add on bookkeeping. But what sort of services are your fellow branch members helping you to offer, Tracy? What kind of stuff is it?
Well, we're working together. There's a few of us who qualified quite closely together. So sometimes it's a second pair of eyes across a set of accounts. You know, you're producing a set of accounts for the first time, and there's exams that I've not passed yet, but the client needs. So so it's I've got fellow ICB branch members who are not particularly, they don't see themselves as being quite customer facing, and they want to be working, so they prefer subcontracted work. So somebody else is the face to the customer and, deals with the chasing the payments and doing, keeping everything, doing all the AML, doing everything like that. And they basically, they like to provide the service. So it's almost like being self-employed, but only having one customer, which is another bookkeeper. It's there's a lot of different things. I've got fellow branch members who specialize in particular industries. So, for instance, there's a lady in our branch who she's really good with churches and charities and that sort of thing. So she's, we can pass, work between branch members and things like that. There's somebody else in her group who's very good with agricultural sort of area. So, I've got a payroll in that industry, but I'm not confident really doing the full bookkeeping because there's so many niche things to that business and to that industry. So that's something that we can all, together provide a really, really good service for a customer.
That is amazing. Just to clarify for those of you watching at home, ICB has a branch network, which is really local groups of ICB members who get together on a regular basis to support each other. And quite often, as Tracy has kind of alluded to, there's a lot of kind of client referrals that take place. So if you're running a business that's quite specialized in a sector that you love and kind of get excited about, you may not want to take on every client that comes to your door. And what we're finding is the demand for bookkeepers is growing and growing and growing. So the number of clients that are coming to our bookkeepers is increasing. And we had this wonderful story where somebody said, I had to turn away a client and I said, sorry, I'm too busy. And they said, you're the 7th ICB member that's told me that today. So it's really busy. And one of the reasons for that is a little something called Making Tax Digital for income tax. It's part of HMRC's project to digitalise the tax system. But what it's changing is that sole traders and landlords who are earning over £50,000 a year actually now have to start using commercial accounting software. And they have to use that to communicate with HMRC. And instead of using it just to communicate their tax return at the end of the year, they also have to provide quarterly updates of how much they're spending and how much they're making. So every 3 months they are sending information to HMRC through their software. This starts in April next year. It starts off with people earning over 50k a year, but that will come down and down and down. So progressively it will affect over 2.5 million sole traders and landlords over the next 3 years. So huge opportunity if this is something that you want to do, whether in employment within a firm or any business in the land really, or if you want to actually run your own business. And like Elaine said in the chat, one of the things we do slightly differently from AAT and other bodies is we enable you to get your practice license as soon as you've passed your qualifications. Now that might sound a little bit wild, but we do that because our qualifications are much more practical. And again, something that somebody has said in the chat, they found that themselves. They're really practical qualifications which have been designed with that end in mind. And also, we've got really high pass marks of 85%. I'm sure we can ask Brian about that as well. Super high pass marks because accuracy is everything when it comes to bookkeeping. But also because we know that you are connected to this incredibly supportive, similarly qualified professional community of bookkeepers, like Tracy has said. So you've got people that you can lean on. Not only that, once you're qualified, you do have access to our technical support line. And I've heard it from members that it's better than some of the more sort of commercial pieces of kind of support that you can get, where you're paying like £50 per call. So that's totally free as part of your membership. And it just gives you that reassurance that if you do come across something you have not been personally familiar with yourself, you know who to ask and get a proper answer from. And particularly when it comes to things like bookkeeping and accounting, stuff is always changing. There's always new rules and regulations coming out, which means that, you know, the allowances for that have changed, or the rates have changed for that. So it is something that I think not only gives you this sort of ongoing challenge, but it also is the reason why businesses will always need the support of a bookkeeper. But Brian, let's talk about these exams. And actually somebody in the chat, I think it's Catherine, who said, I'm actually looking to take over my mum's bookkeeping business. Hooray. I love that. Love a family business. I'm sure you're probably the only person she'd trust to do that. But she's asked the question, should I start at level 2 or can I start at level 3? So what would you say to that, Brian?
Okay, so Ideal Schools are in a really fortunate position that we offer every available qualification that ICB provide, and students are very much led just to enroll for whatever you're comfortable with. So yes, you can register for level 2 on its own and then progress to level 3 later, or you can commit to a package that combines level 2 and 3. Often when you do that, you save quite a bit of money, and we are going to share some offers that are available at the moment to you at the end of the chat. So you will get a bit of extra discount being part of this webinar. But I mean, essentially, you register for a course or a course package that you're comfortable with. You know, it's great for us if students register for levels 2 and 3 and include self-assessment tax or payroll management. But that's only good for you if you have the time and the ability to just set aside your study hours and make sure that you're making regular progress. From a college perspective, we're always available for our students to offer kind of guidance, support, and as they're progressing. So as long as students are actively using our services, you'll see good progress being made. Momentum will build. You'll start getting or start passing your first examinations, and before you know it, you'll be fully qualified, just as Tracy experienced. So it is a journey that can be really flexible for yourself. So just my advice would be to look at the range of courses and course packages available. You do have to start from level 2 if you've not got prior bookkeeping and accounting qualifications, but it's just what you're comfortable with in terms of your commitment, both in terms of time and finance. Obviously, that's important.
Well, let's ask Tracy, how did you actually fit this in to your life? How did you manage your studying?
Um, well, I had about 4 hours blocks every now and then with childcare as a, maybe once or twice a week, and that was it. The rest of the study was a bit, as and when. The amount of times I would ring Brian when my little one was asleep in the car, the textbooks and sorry, the material went everywhere with me. If my little ones fell asleep, then that was it. Nap time, right? Textbooks out. I've got soft play. The little ones are running around soft play when I'm there and studying about financial statements and things. It was quite easy to fit in because you've got your printed material where you can sit and scribble, you can make notes, you can do all of that, all of that stuff that I really need to learn. But there's also the online element as well. So if I found myself without my books, then I could get my phone out and sit and scroll through my phone and read what I needed to read and read some background. But yeah, with having little ones, it could be quite difficult. But it was little and often, if I found that a week had went by where I hadn't studied, then it was like, right, I need to change something. I need to change it this week. What do I need to change to fit that in? So it does require a little bit of motivation, a bit of commitment, but equally it's quite easy with the different types of materials, if that makes sense. Like you only really need a laptop, and quite often you don't even need internet access if you can download the templates that you need and things like that. You can download what you need to your laptop and you can work remotely. So it is very, very flexible.
Amazing. Which parts of the course did you actually enjoy the most? I mean, there's a lot, isn't there, that you've learned. So which bit did you really get into?
I'm loving financial statements at the moment. So that's the exam I'm studying. I'm really enjoying that one, which is level 4. I think my personal favourite was the one, is it A3?
A3, the software exam.
Is it where you're actually in the accounting software? I really enjoyed that one. That was such a practical. Sometimes when you're studying, it's hard to say, how does this, what does this look like in real life? Where that exam really gives you a flavour for that.
Wonderful. We absolutely love our A3 exam, how to do bookkeeping in software, because you literally have to do bookkeeping in software. And it's one of those things that a lot of exam boards don't bother with anymore because it's really hard to assess. It's hard to write these exams. And we've designed ours so that you can actually choose which software you want to use. And that makes it even harder for us, really. But it's so important to actually see somebody do real bookkeeping work. Brian, which types of software do you train students to use? Is it just one piece?
It is not one piece. We have good choice. So we use Sage for our bookkeeping and our payroll courses. For the bookkeeping element, we also have a study option for Xero. And on the payroll side, we also use BrightPay. So students have a choice for each of the qualification routes. Yeah, so they only have to ask us for advice on what they think is more suitable for them. Every student is different. Every student has their own preference, but they have a choice. That's the important thing.
This is great. Nick is just saying in the chat he also really enjoyed the A3 exam. So it's called the 3 because it's the third one you do. But that's part of the level 2 block. And obviously software is massively important. It's a great time to be a bookkeeper, partly because some of that kind of high volume transactional work has to a certain extent been automated. But the reason you have to do 2 exams first before you get to the A3 is that it's really important to understand the theory. And so often I find that good bookkeepers will say if anything goes wrong, I go back to the T accounts and that helps me figure it out. So we are still really, really teaching those sort of rudimentary basics of what what the software is doing. And the reason this is so important is because so often the skill now is becoming how to understand the software and where it might go wrong, how to spot the anomalies, how to understand when software has made some sort of mistake. And you can't do that unless you understand how that software is built and what the job is if you didn't even have the software. But the great news is that in your day-to-day life, you are probably, as a bookkeeper, going to be using a lot of software. And to a certain extent, it's quite technical. It's a very sort of technical tech as in technology-based career, isn't it? Tracy, do you ever spend a day kind of not in a computer?
About once a month, I have a day where I go around visiting clients and I do face-to-face kind of discussions, what's happening with your business, swapping paperwork or anything we need to do. But that's about it. The rest of the month is in some software of some kind.
I love that you're still going out there and visiting the clients. And I think this, again, just shows this value of bookkeepers. They can be so close to their clients, and that's really where you make the difference and have those important conversations. How many clients have you got roughly? How big is the client base at the moment?
I think I've got 8 at the moment. I've got 8 clients at the moment, and they are quite big clients. So at the moment, I'm not really doing any self-assessments unless it's part of a package. So that is, bookkeeping, payroll, and some final accounts things. But yeah, it's you can turn up with a customer and it's like you get so much more information, the more relaxed, and they'll share information with you, and you get to talk. We talk about marketing strategies. I get to share best practice between my clients. So if one client has found particularly good insurance or anything like that, I can share that with my other clients. And so that face-to-face meeting for me and for what my clients need from me, that is very important, and it's something I really value in my business.
Absolutely fascinating. And again, it really comes back to this idea of bookkeepers being well, my idea of bookkeepers being the API. Bookkeepers are the integrators, the bridging between the software and the accounts, that quite often, no business owner really starts their business to do their accounts and their books, and they often find it incredibly stressful. But the bookkeeping is such a powerful tool because it really does get you into the real important part of the business, and you can make such a tangible difference in the business owner's life, let alone in terms of the sort of growth of their business. But Nicholas in the chat there has mentioned QuickBooks. We absolutely love QuickBooks as well. It's completely one of the most popular pieces of software in the UK, perhaps not quite as ubiquitous as it is in the USA, but really user-friendly. And all of these software providers will be at the Bookkeepers Summit. So we run a really big event every year. It takes place in person in London this year on the 17th of November. We're just off Parliament Square, so it gives you the opportunity to see Big Ben and Westminster Abbey, and it's a really nice part of town. We've got a one-day event which includes an exhibition where Xero will be there, QuickBooks will be there, Sage, as we've mentioned, also Free Agent is a very popular piece of software too, and lots of other additional kind of auxiliary bits of software that you can use to run your practice. And also to be a great employee if you want to get a job somewhere. And quite often this sort of literacy with different software packages is also going to hold you in good stead as well, and can just help you understand how that software works and how you can support businesses better. But we often find that our practices will support clients with whatever software they use, rather than necessarily choosing just one software to provide to kind of look after for their clients. So I think those tech skills are really important, and perhaps becoming more so. Mihal's in the chat there saying that the Bookkeeper Summit is one of his favourite events of the year. I'm very pleased to hear that. But it is a fantastic opportunity for bookkeepers, because you'll come to a space where everyone's a bookkeeper. And all of the discussions centre around bookkeeping. So we'll talk about things like how to run your own business, how to get a great job as a bookkeeper. We've got sort of technical sessions on You know, we will be predicting budget updates, but the budget is, of course, due on the 26th of November, shortly afterwards. But we've got tax experts like Rebecca Bennyware. She's quite famous. If you're just starting off in this profession, you may not have heard of her, but she is fabulous. And she will be giving us all the kind of latest on tax updates and legislation updates and how to support clients better. Quite often your clients will come to you and ask you all sorts of questions. And one of the things that Tracy has mentioned is our financial statements exam at level 4, or the qualification, I should say. It's more than just an exam. But financial statements is about the company's house accounts that you file with Companies House. So that applies to limited companies and limited liability partnerships. Not only will they have to file their tax return to HMRC, they also have to file accounts with Companies House. And they are sort of related but separate processes, and we've got a qualification for each. So alongside corporation tax qualifications, we also have self-assessment tax qualifications at level 4 for sole traders, and also any directors of a limited company that need to do a self-assessment tax return exam. And this probably sounds like a lot, but of course, once you're in it, you will know all about this. But our level 4 qualifications are really add-on additional services like Brian has talked about. It's something that if you want to run your own business, you can consider if you want to provide those services. And also obviously something that's really useful that you can help any employer that you work with as well. But as far as we're concerned, you do your level 2 and your level 3, and then you're a certified bookkeeper. And that's a recognized professional designation that only we can offer. So with ICB, you become a certified bookkeeper, not just a qualified bookkeeper. And you can start your own business at that point. You then have the option to add on your level 4 qualifications if you want to, and you don't have to do all of them. Quite often with exam boards, they do make you do the whole suite, and you've got to fork out all that money, and you've got to think, oh, it's the sort of stress of it. As far as we're concerned, you can pick and choose which ones you want to do. And there's also a level 4 qualification in business insight. So that gives you that sort of broader approach to supporting businesses on things like, do they have enough money to get a new member of staff, or do they have enough money to buy that new equipment or move offices or something like that. So it gives you that slightly elevated role of being able to discuss the sort of incomings and outgoings of their businesses in order to help them grow. Brian, how do your students usually do at level 4? It can be quite a step up. It's really about becoming the only way I can think of a superior, but you know, a master bookkeeper, as it were.
Yeah, I'm glad our level 4 tutor Louise is on board. We had one of our virtual welcome meetings last week, and I think she put the fear of God into people at the difficulty level of level 4. But it's, you know, it's a serious qualification. Students at the end of it have big responsibilities in looking after the tax affairs for either individuals or limited companies. So the coverage has to be very comprehensive. The testing obviously is very comprehensive. And I can only speak from an Ideal Schools perspective, we make sure that students not only have the training materials that will get them through the exams, but the tutors themselves have been through the exams. They've been through the process of offering the services professionally. So they've got so much knowledge and experience to share that you know, students at exam time, once they've reached that level, they shouldn't really have anything to fear at that stage. So our own personal success rates are very good in the level 4 exams. I was obviously being from an educational viewpoint, I would always say the more qualifications you add, the more opportunities will land in your lap, and the more revenue that you'll be able to retain from your client base. And Amy, you've mentioned that not everybody feels comfortable with doing the tax side, but it's there as an option, and the more you learn, the more you can earn, essentially.
Exactly, that's very true. The more you learn, the more you can earn. But also, we have a lot of members who do the tax exams and the accounts exams just so they know, and a lot of bookkeepers obviously will be working alongside accountants. That can be a really critical part of the job, really. And whether that's an employment or self-employment, accountants are very highly qualified and they spend years getting their qualifications. If you want to be a chartered accountant, you probably are going to have to remortgage your house, do 7 years of study. And it's an exceptionally robust qualification and it has stood the test of time. And they have a very broad knowledge. And what that means is if you find that accountants that you love working with, you can really lean on them as well to get that that kind of elevated knowledge about certain areas. And we do not qualify bookkeepers to become tax advisors. There's a lot of, you know, very interesting tax specialist knowledge that certain accountants have, that probably most bookkeepers just would never even really need. But we really do think that having good relationships with accountants is really important. So there's always this opportunity to learn a little bit more about what the accountant does, so that when you pass over any account at the end of year, if it's for your client, or whether you're just doing sort of period end adjustments and passing it over to the accountants in any firm that you work with, sometimes it's nice to just have a little bit more control and understand the types of things that they're looking at. And that always just improves your bookkeeping as well. So no matter which part of the job you end up doing, you may decide level 4 is for you, but it's absolutely optional when you get to that point. And maybe Tracy, I mean, how do you feel? Did you sort of get the learning bug? I mean, you're running a business, you've already done stacks of exams. How come you're still carrying on? Is it satisfying, the process of going through the qualifications?
Yeah, I mean, it is satisfying. It is, and it's clients will often ask me, "Oh, I wish you know." It started by saying, "Oh, I wish you could do payroll because I would love to just come to you for everything rather than having to have an accountant, a bookkeeper, a payroll. I wish I could just come to you and just get one service." So that's how the payroll started. Because I had no intentions of studying payroll before that. But then looking into it, being able to do limited company accounts, payroll, even if it's just to be able to run directors payroll, just one or two, it makes the difference to what clients need, even if you don't want to be, a payroll clerk, either employed or with your own business. I think it's really useful information to have, even if you're only doing a couple of directors a month, or just keeping on top of that. You'll often find that directors need a self-assessment and things. So that's why, as a business, I don't really do self-assessments individually, but occasionally directors do come to me and say, "Well, I need my self-assessment doing, can you help me with that?" So it's kind of like an add-on service, if that makes sense. But yeah, I do love studying, and Brian knows how competitive I am. And if I get 99%, or it's like, where did that one mark go? I'm very stubborn. And
Meticulous.
yeah, it is really rewarding.
Absolutely fantastic. And tell us about the job of a bookkeeper. Is it everything you hoped it would be? What is it about being a bookkeeper that you love most?
It's more. You become like my clients. I can genuinely say that my clients are lovely. They're genuinely nice. I can go to their homes and I'm sat with a dog on my lap while I'm busy doing their accounts. I've held babies for mums who's returning back to work, and it's like, right, we've held between the two of us. Last week I was visiting a new client who I'm on board the next month, and we were walking around our farm, stroking our horses while we were chatting about what services she needs. It's everything I thought it would be in terms of flexibility. It is demanding, and there has been, that it does require commitment. It's not always an easy job, but you've got the tools there to get through it, if that makes sense. You've got the support. The amount of times I've rang the VAT, technical helpline and just said, like, I've got one that you just can't get my head around. I need some assistance, and they've been great. So you do have the support there. I mean, it isn't always the easy, but it is always rewarding. It's always worth it, and it can be exactly what you want it to be. You're in control, which is what I love about it. It's what I need right now.
I love hearing you say this. I feel like we're going to have to record this whole thing again, so that we can replay what you've said without the gaps. But like I say, all the words coming through, it's just with certain gaps. But you know, somebody did ask in the questions, like, how did you actually even find these clients? For somebody sort of thinking, okay, well, I could get the exams done, fine, and I want to run my own business, but actually, how do I find clients? Do you have any advice there?
I would say probably by 25% of my clients have come by referrals from my ICB branch, I would say. The rest, it's been a little bit random. Some have, found me, found my website and found social media, but that is quite low. I think it's knowing what clients you want and attracting those and aiming for those clients, because how you advertise and how you position your business very much depends on what you want your client base to be. So I've got stickers on my car, which, I mean, the pros are, if I'm out and about, people see my logo, they see, and that has won me a lot of business. But equally, it's I think it just depends. That is my typical client are kind of tools, trades. I've got some farming ish, but it's all property and related things. So it's positioning myself where I'm going to be seen by those businesses. I have one wholesaler business. So the reason I got my car branded was I visited the wholesaler once a week, and I thought, if my car's sat in the car park, then every tradesman that comes into that car park is going to see my branded car. So yeah, I think there's so many options. Marketing's huge, and you could discuss that as a whole separate thing, I think.
Fantastic. I love seeing the smile on your face. So, I think really the clear thing is, if you're a bit switched on, you're going to be absolutely fine. You don't need to do anything absolutely, extreme or weird or specialist or difficult, because there's loads of clients out there for you, and they love bookkeepers because you're taking away this massive headache. So it's not even something that you really have to sell to anybody. So I think we are, we're coming up to time. So I guess, Brian, really, we've got people in the chat here. I love to hear Marion. Marion's just like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to sign up, which is exactly what I think you should do, because you can always wait till the absolute right time when you've got all your ducks in a row, but that is not what you should be doing. Do it now. There's never been a better time. But Brian, if anybody's out there thinking, how do I get started? I'm not sure. I'm old. I feel like I can't learn anything. What's your advice to these people, Brian?
Well, I think we're all getting a bit older, as my hair would prove. But distance learning, I think traditionally has been seen by many as a kind of isolating experience, and in many ways, the idea of being self-employed, people think of isolation, but we try to take that away. Obviously, it's fantastic to hear that Tracy has made great use of the ICB branch network. It's a fantastic network. We get involved with the local Glasgow branch here, and in the past we have sponsored other branches, paying for their teas and coffees and stuff. So it's been, we see the value of that. ICB themselves, you've got a great support network for those that go into practice, and with the technical help that you provide. And within Ideal Schools, we try to take away the isolation of learning with we have virtual welcome meetings to welcome you in to the Ideal family, for want of a better phrase. We have private social media groups that allow you to interact with other students. So it's all about community, I think, and the bookkeeping community in general is really supportive of one another. It's great to see that Marion is ready to sign in a dotted line, but the registration process is really easy. You find the course that you like online, and you click enroll now, follow the online process. If you're ever unsure about anything, myself and the rest of the guys here at Ideal Schools are here to help. So we would always encourage you to get in contact. and iron out any kind of niggly questions that you might have before you sign on a dotted line. But it's important that you are comfortable with what you're committing to. So we would always encourage you to ask as many questions as you have to.
And tell us about these deals.
These deals, am I able to share? Do I have
deals?
at the moment, during September, we've got some offers on generally through the month in relating to the ICB qualifications. So we have a huge 40% saving on our platinum package. Now the platinum package covers every available ICB qualification. So it's a great value for money course package, but you have to be confident that that you want to be completing all of those training packages. With the level 2 and 3 bookkeeping course at the moment, we're providing free self-assessment training. So that course will come free. And if you're not already a member of ICB and you're thinking of payroll management, then we're going to include your ICB student membership within that. Now those offers are available for the duration of September. So you can take your time to make your decision. However, as a thank you for attending and watching this webinar and putting up with myself, particularly myself, it's been a joy to see Amy and Tracy in full flow, but particularly with myself. If you register for any package or any course up until Monday, you can use code WEB10 to save 10% on the fees. Now that's on top of the additional discounts that I've mentioned previously. So a really good chance for you to get top quality training. I have to say that. A really good value.
Absolutely fantastic. And like I say, this is the moment to do it. Just do it now. I'm all one for analysis paralysis. I like to think about things until I've completely lost interest. But this is something that is really investing in your future, in a career that can take you into self-employment, into employment, into any business in the land. You could also use this if you've got an amazing startup idea to help you run the accounts for that business. These are skills that will always be in demand, and currently in the UK they are particularly in demand. But I feel like, Tracy, I'd love to sort of give you the last word. What advice do you have for anybody watching this? And personally for me, knowing that you've managed to do this around young kids, that you set up a business and already within 2 years you've got an almost, over 50% growth in your client base this month through working with people in the ICB network, that for me sort of speaks for itself. But what advice have you got for anybody watching this webinar who's thinking, is it for me? Is this the right time?
I would say, give Brian a call, talk through the exams, talk through what the commitments are. And it's a lot easier than what you think. Don't be put off by, the thought of a new career or trying something new, because, there's never a better time to get a better work-life balance, to get more, a rewarding, it really is a rewarding job and a rewarding career when you're really helping people with their businesses. It's just a really, it's a really rewarding career to have.
There we go. And yes, from Brian.
I'm really sorry for stealing the last word, but I forgot to mention this evening. So if anybody goes onto our website, they'll see a little live chat icon, which it's not a bot. You actually speak to a person. I'm going to be manning that live chat this evening from 7 o'clock till late. So if anybody wants to come on for a one-to-one chat, then I'd be delighted to have that chat with them.
That is great. That's particularly good for all the millennials like me who for some reason don't like using telephones these days. So you can live chat, you can call us, of course. You can get onto our website, you can read all sorts of features that we've done with members talking about their successes as bookkeepers. And I just wanted to quickly answer the question that Nick posed. I know, Nick, that you're already on this train to success. You're already doing your studying. You said that Ideal Schools are amazing, great support from Ideal Schools, but you did ask about regulations and hurdles when you start your practice. In order to run your own business as a bookkeeper in the UK, or as an accountant or a payroll provider, you are required to have a supervisor to make sure that you are complying with the money laundering regulations. Obviously, that's a lot of legislation. We help to distill that down and give you the guidance you need in order to stay compliant. But one of the things we do, we support you through our practice license scheme. So you have to have a practice license with us if you're running your own business. It's the same as with the other supervisors as well. But what we do differently, we, like Brian does when you start your course with him, we have got an onboarding call, which is a one-to-one between you and one of our AML and professional standards support team. They do that partly because we have to ID you as part of that process, but that's also to make sure that you understand what your obligations are and to help you understand what you need to do to stay compliant. But that's an opportunity for you really to ask lots of questions. And then we've got parts of the website that kind of open up once you're running a business where you can do some of your compliance activities like checking clients and things like that. But it's something, all of your sort of money laundering regulation requirements are all about knowing your clients. And we feel at ICB that bookkeepers, like no other advisors, really understand their clients and can help them with their businesses. So it has been an absolute delight to have this fabulous webinar. Thank you ever so much for joining us. And thank you just massively to Brian and Tracy for sharing your knowledge and insights. And just good luck, Brian, on the live chat. I'm sure it'll be busy today. Thank you so much for the deals. And Tracy, good luck with all these amazing sort of business growth that you're experiencing. And to everybody watching at home, good luck on your journey to becoming a bookkeeper. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.